Hello and welcome to 365 Days of Healing. We're going to discuss intuition and what our intuition is all about. So if we think about the chakra system, this third eye that we call it, this sixth sense, as we've often called it in our tradition here in the West, is where our intuition lies. Now, it's different to our instinct. Our instinct is based in our gut, in the solar plexus area of the chakra system, and instinct is something that automatically happens to do with our physiological reaction to things. So our instinct and our intuition very often work together. But our intuition comes from a connection to our soul self and to universal consciousness. It comes into us. Very often we don't know where it emanates from. It's just a knowledge and a knowing without being able to logically put together why we know what we know. And that's okay. We all have intuition and we all have very powerful intuition. But if you observe how your intuition works, and if you start to listen to your intuition and you start to trust that that part of you knows more than any other part of you, because intuitively you are connected, as I said, to universal consciousness, to the monad, to source, to essence, whatever you want to call that, that greater understanding and awareness, the greatest understanding and awareness, your soul self, which is wanting to direct you on a pathway and the quickest pathway that you can go so that you can go back to source, back to essence, back to universal consciousness and rise up through all these dimensions that we talk about. If you keep listening to that intuitive self, you will get there, you will ascend much more quickly, because you will be making choices that are based on things outside of your logical mind. And when we do that, then we are in absolute trust. It's when we call it having absolute faith in something that is higher than what we are, and yet the higher than what we are is also the highest part of ourself. So if we listen to the highest part of ourself, which is direct line to whatever you want to call it, God, Goddess, universal consciousness, source, essence, when we listen to that and we follow that intuitive knowing, then we quickly ascend through those dimensions until we're back to the essence and the source. We live in absolute harmony. We have absolute understanding of what is going on around us. We recognize that we come from a place of universal love, of absolute trust and knowing. Now, the most difficult part of all this, of course, is trust, and trusting that your intuitive self knows more than your logical brain. And therein lies how difficult it is to fully trust in that intuitive part of yourself. Unconditional love is something that we don't very often meet in this 3D template. Unconditional love is a love that is given at all levels It's not just falling over and allowing anybody to do what they think or feel that they should or shouldn't be doing, but it is unconditionally loving them at a level that has trust that they are doing the work that they are here to do. And I suppose that takes in the likes of the cabal or the evil forces that are here. They are doing their work. When we give unconditional love, it doesn't mean that we condone any part of what they do. It means that we understand that they are a part of the whole. They are the parts of us that are not in that state of unconditional love. So what we have to do to go into that state of unconditional love is to look inward. As we've said often, this microcosm that we are, this energetic system here, is reflected out there in the macrocosm. So within us, we have parts of us that have not met the state of unconditional love. So if we look at the parts in ourselves that we don't unconditionally love, we actually can look inward and bring unconditional love to those parts of ourselves and trust that when we have done the work and it comes from here, that then becomes a reflection of what is out there. And therein lies the way unconditional love works. It's not just sitting here and sending love out to everywhere beyond us. It's actually reflecting and looking within. And your intuitive self knows this. Your intuitive self knows that you must work in the microcosm first before you can actually start broadcasting what you need to do in the macrocosm. You cannot change anything outside of yourself until you begin to change it within. Your intuitive self will guide you down that pathway if you keep listening to your own intuition. Now, having the bravery and the strength of character to do that, because if you're looking inward, you let go of being self-important, of knowing the way to correct anything out there. You're looking within. When you listen to your intuition, it is a spontaneous understanding of looking inward. And we've recently spoken to what meditation was about and observation was about, and finding stillness, because in those spaces is when we can listen also to our intuitive self, which will guide us about working at the microcosm here within us, that actually then feeds out into the macrocosm. It's the only way forward. If anybody thinks that they have any answers to what is going to happen out there, if they haven't looked inward and seen that they are reflecting parts of what's happening out there, that they're reflecting it themselves, then they are fooling themselves. And your intuition will guide you in the way to do that and to understand that. You will know intuitively when you should not be following a certain person, a certain way of doing anything, what you're being told outside of yourself, if it does not sit right with you intuitively. If you don't trust and follow your intuition, you will go off track on your process of ascending into the different dimensions. So it sounds a little difficult, but all we have to do is find the stillness to keep listening to our intuitive self, which is a spontaneous understanding of what we can do, working with our emotions so that we can see that the emotional responses are guiding us also to helping us find the way forward to rising in consciousness. So listen to your intuitive self, have the bravery and the strength of character to follow it, and very often it is against anything that you're being told from outside. So namaste, my friends. Happy intuitive investigations.